it again. We're going back to Omaha. And it's on to the College World Series Final. The 2015 National Champions.
Welcome into another off-season edition of 1186, the podcast, the official podcast of the University of Virginia baseball program. I am Damon Tillman. He's Andrew Ramspacker. And as you can see, we are joined by third baseman for the Toronto Blue Jays, Gold Glove finalist third baseman for the Toronto Blue Jays, Ernie Clement. Ernie, thanks for joining us, man.
Fellas, it's an honor. It's a real honor. I'm excited.
I think we've all been waiting to get you on here because there are a lot of stories to tell, right?
Yeah, I have quite a few pretty awesome and funny experiences over my time playing baseball. So, I'm an open book. Just ask away.
All right, well, let's start here because we talked to Oak last week, and he was talking a lot about all the alumni who were back for the golf tournament and the home run derby, and you were one of those alumni who came back for that. And first of all, how was that home run derby?
The home run derby was hilarious. They had, so the guys on the team were using their, normal bats for the first few rounds of it. And then the alumni got to use it was almost cheating. We had these like -5 metal bats, and if all you had to do was hit it on the barrel, and it pretty much went out of the stadium. So, of course, we didn't hit very many home runs because it's a little harder to do to hit it on the barrel. But and I especially have no excuse as I'm still playing baseball. All these other guys were done, so kind of embarrassing. I still don't have any power, so. But we had a blast. It was so cool being out there with those guys. And I think they're going to have a pretty awesome team this year.
Well, for the home run derby, obviously you played in the golf event out at Keswick. Who was in your group, and how did you guys do?
So it was three-man team. So it was Robbie Coleman, Kenny Towns, and myself going up.
Well, that was the derby. What about the golf? Who was in your golf?
So
who was in your golf scramble?
Yeah, okay. Our golf team was our scramble team was my dad. Him and I drove down together, and he was dying to hang out with the boys. So it was me, him, Robbie Coleman, and Thomas Woodruff as our foursome, and we had a interesting time out there for sure.
What did you guys finish?
I think we're middle of the pack.
Okay.
There were some cheaters that were right around 16 under. Absolutely no chance.
Was that your group, Andrew?
I mean, that's crazy.
I was just riding shotgun and Kenny Towns. I just let Kenny go to work, and I just kind of popped in from time to time.
What a player. He's a great golfer, no doubt.
Unreal.
I think you guys, what were you, 15 under?
I think we were 14 under. Yeah. Kenny had a couple ringers that he had with us in that group. One guy was a former collegiate baseball player. I don't know if it's appropriate to say on this podcast what team he played for, and he kept it very low key actually when he introduced himself to Coach Kirby before the round. But overall, it was a great day out there. It's good to see you and all the other guys. How often we talked about this with Oak last week, but obviously with baseball, the schedules and the length of the season, stuff like that, I'm sure it's pretty difficult to have reunions like that with the guys, the UVA guys. How often has that happened since you've been back? Was that kind of the first of its kind? Was that like the most you've been around, like multiple almost generations of this program?
There's been a couple times where there's something that brings everybody back, and we try to do a good job of kind of wrangling everybody up and getting everybody together. But it's so fun. It's so cool talking about everybody's experiences because a lot of them are the same. There's a lot of similarities in what we went through, and then there's our own special things that we did as a group. So it's just there's so many good people that came through the program and who are coming through the program currently. So to meet new guys and old dudes who went through before me, and it's so much fun. We have such a blast. So we try to do a good job of getting everybody to go.
Where do you live in the offseason? Where did you come from to come in here that weekend?
I'm from Rochester, New York.
I know that. But where did you? Where were you? Are you living in Rochester in the off season?
Absolutely am. Yeah, this is home for
Okay.
me. I actually
That's
just
a short commute from Toronto.
Yeah, it's great. It's 2.5, 3 hours to Toronto. It's about
Nice.
7.5 to Charlottesville. So, but yeah, this is home now. I just bought a house here, so hanging.
Nice. Congrats.
Thanks, boys.
Were you a Blue Jays guy growing up?
No, I wasn't actually. I was a big Yankees fan, so that kind of that's a tough one to talk about now. And honestly, it's hard to root against them in the World Series because like that was my childhood, like watching the Yankees always like making a run, and now I'm kind of forced to hate them. So being in our division and everything, and it's always fun beating up on them too. But it is cool to see the Yankees back in the World Series. That was my childhood, so pretty cool.
So we were talking about this before we got started, but it's 10 years ago this fall that you first arrived at UVA as a freshman. Is that because I know I'm assuming it's the same for Andrew, but like to think about it from my perspective, that's wild that it's been 10 years already. What's that like from your perspective?
Yeah, that's insane. I'm starting to get real old here real fast. But it feels like yesterday, like stepping on the campus and going and hanging out on the field, a few weekends ago. It's so special. And, it really does feel like yesterday. It's gone by really fast. It feels like just yesterday I was getting, yelled at to get a bunt down. But it's crazy. It's awesome.
What was your welcome to UVA baseball moment that fall?
I think you want me to tell the flag football story.
I don't know where you're going to go with this. I mean, I have a
Wait, I've never heard this story before.
I'll start you with my first like kind of slap in the face. I walk in, first time ever walking into the facility as a University of Virginia student. First time walking into the baseball facility and I walked in, I was like nice and early. I was all excited and there's a big meeting going on. I'm like, oh no, like I'm missing the first meeting. And I thought I was early. Well, it turns out I was early. I went over and sat down and it was all the pitchers and Carl Kuhn is just staring at me. Like, what is this kid doing walking in here, sitting down? And I just I looked around, I realized it was all pitchers and I go, oh, my bad. And I just walked out, got up and walked out. And I'm sure he made some kind of comment about me as I was walking out. But that was a big wake up call there that I needed to, maybe look at the schedule and be in touch with my surroundings a little better. And then there was the flag football thing where, we're doing fall practice and we had a lift scheduled on a Monday and it was an optional lift. And instead of going to the lift, I went and played flag football with a couple of my my buddies on our dorm hall. And I was riding the bus home, and all my teammates got on it and were like, "Bro, like, where were you? We just had a lift." And I was like, "Oh, I was playing flag football. I thought the lift was optional." And so some of the older guys caught wind of that. That the new kid was not showing up to what he needed to show up for. And instead, was running all over the turf over there with all the students. And I threw for a couple touchdowns and our team won. So that was exciting. But I showed up the next day and it was not a pleasant scene.
Hey, man of the people, right? Like UVA baseball players, they're just like us. They're just like any other UVA student, right? You go play intramural flag football. I don't see what the big deal was.
Yeah, right? I had a blast, but it was Oak called me in and it was like, hey, you can play flag football, but you can't play baseball if you're gonna. Kind of fun. It was good. We laugh about it now. It was hysterical. I was just so stupid and
What are your memories of Iron Cavalier? Because the current team's going through all that right now. What are your memories of going through that? Not just the first time, but all three of you Balls at UVA.
Yeah. I actually always did okay in that. Like I was in really good like running shape. Nowadays, I would absolutely get crushed because I played, baseball for 250 days out of the year, and that's not like the best workout in the world. But um, I was fresh off like playing hockey and playing soccer, and I was in great shape, and um, I've always felt really good going into, especially the running aspect of everything. Like I always felt really good about it. I would never win the Iron Cavalier or anything like that. But um, I learned quickly that if you embrace it and it kind of attack it with a good mindset, like you can.
Did we lose Ernie?
I think we lost Ernie.
You got me?
There he is.
Back.
He's back.
Yeah, we got you.
So it was fine for me. I actually like. I attacked it with a good mindset and tried to enjoy it as much as I could. But, you definitely walked back when everything was done and you were pretty sore because it was really tough. But it was a mindset thing. I knew I didn't have a choice. I had to get after it. And, I think that the coaches kind of saw the way I went about it. And I think they realized like, oh, maybe this kid's, maybe he's really dumb and young and naive about everything, but he's going to work his tail off and, try to help this team win. And, I think that's a pretty good, you get a pretty good idea of a guy's mental strength, watching him go through all that stuff.
Who else excelled?
Obviously,
like, who are some of the other guys who did win Iron Cavalier or excelled at it in your time? Do you remember?
Yeah, I think Thomas Woodruff was pretty amazing at going above and beyond, and finding a way to get it done. Just because he was about as mentally tough and wasn't a big recruit or anything like that, but he always overachieved, and like as a testament to his mental game. And there's a lot of guys who obviously like Theis, he's a catcher. He's not going to be able to run 10 300s in a row with no rest. And but he would always give it 100%, and he never gave up and did what he was able to do. And it was a little different. I was only like 150 pounds back then, so I didn't have a tough time running there. But Robbie Coleman was awesome. He's a big, strong dude who worked his tail off. So, but you got a quick idea of where guys were.
That fall, you walk into a program that had just lost, like in heartbreaking fashion, the national championship the year before. Obviously, they lost a good chunk of that lineup. There's a lot. That was a loaded junior class that a lot of those guys went on to be drafted and to go in the pros. But when you walked in there, what did you feel as like the level of expectation as you kind of sat around there? I mean, I guess in hindsight, obviously it's easy to say like, oh yeah, it was obvious I was playing with the team that won the national championship, but things are moving so fast, I'm sure, for you as a first year guy that fall. What did you think of just kind of the talent around you and the expectations that were surrounding that program stemming from what happened the previous June?
Yeah, I walked in the first day and I immediately was just like overwhelmed with the talent and how fast everything was. And like honestly, the first few days, it was like, oh my God, I'm never gonna play here. These guys are so much better than me. I had never seen a pitch over like 85 miles an hour, and Nathan Kirby's up there throwing 96-mile-an-hour sinkers and sliders, and I was just so overwhelmed. But it was such a fast-paced practice that I had no choice but to improve, and it really forced me to work hard. And the coaches did such a good job of getting the best out of me as a just a kid from Rochester, New York, who never played baseball for more than 2 months out of the year, 3 months out of the year. So I was a perfect fit to come in and improve. So I never thought I would play. Like I had no expectations of getting drafted or playing. I just wanted to help that team win, and that was I. I don't want to speak for anybody else, but it felt to me like that was the mindset for everybody there, and I think that's why, at the end of the year, after going through all our ups and downs, everything started to click.
Did you? I was trying to because I mentioned at the top you're a finalist as a third baseman in the majors. Did you ever play third base at UVA? Even in practice.
No, I never played third until I got to the major leagues in Cleveland in 2021. I never played third at all.
What?
Yeah, go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, I think did you kind of tap into what happened? Like when you're given this opportunity of a new position, did you think back to maybe that time when you were a freshman here and, hey, you're the opening day center fielder, but then later in the year you're second baseman, and then later in your career you're the everyday shortstop. Obviously, you showed off a lot of your position versatility here. Did that help you with that transition to a new spot in the big leagues?
No doubt about it. I talked to Oak and Mac right before that first series, my first year. And I'd never played center, and they were like, hey, you're go out there and you're going to play center. All we want you to do is catch the ball and throw it to second. Don't try to throw anybody out. Just, run all over the field, call everybody off and catch everything. And I absolutely took that into playing third base. I don't have the strongest arm in the world, obviously. I played a lot of second base, and my arms improved a lot, but I have to get rid of the ball really fast. So it was more of catch the ball, catch every ball, cut the shortstop off anytime you can and get rid of it, and try to throw it to the first baseman's chest. And I've learned a lot over the last few years about, playing infield, and it's very similar to shortstop, which I was a little bit more comfortable with at the start, but it's a lot of, for me, it's a lot of will. It's a lot of, I'm not going to let this ball get by me no matter what. And I need to do it for the guys around me and my pitcher. And I really just want to win. And that's how you win baseball games is making plays for that guy on the mound. So it's a lot of will and a lot of hard work, because I've come a long way. I was not a great infielder back in the day.
Did you expect to be a Gold Glove finalist? Was that something that you were expecting when those were getting rolled out, or what was that experience like?
I don't know. I knew I had turned it on kind of halfway through the year. I really, really struggled at third, kind of in the beginning of the year. I just went through a little, rough patch where some bounces weren't going my way and some throws were sailing on me a little bit, and I had to get back to work and get that mindset back. I wasn't going to let anything by me, and I was going to make plays. So, as I started to play a little bit more, as I started to kind of earn my spot on the field on a daily basis, I got a little bit more comfortable over there. So, but it goes back to, it really goes back to the preparation and the work you put in. Those guys at UVA taught me that you need to treat every practice like a game, and if you do that, everything will slow down once you do get into the game. So I just got back to that mindset, and I started really working my tail off on infield work, and it absolutely paid off.
I think what was cool is that not only you are a Gold Glove finalist, but Jake McCarthy is also a Gold Glove finalist. So I don't know the breakdown of numbers, but I can't imagine there's a ton of those of the finalists for the top defensive player in the position in the big leagues coming from multiple players coming from one school. How cool is that for you? And in that light, what's it like to, obviously you probably don't see Jake a ton, obviously him being in the NL over there with Arizona, but you were able to have 2 years with him. Obviously one I think was injury shortened for him, but UVA. But what are your memories of Jake, and then what's it like just to kind of see Jake in the big leagues now?
Yeah, I'm so happy for him. He kind of had a similar deal that I did in the beginning of the year, where it wasn't, weren't playing every day. You had to earn your next start, and he was playing against a bunch of lefties instead of starting against righties, and he played his way into the lineup. So I'm so happy for him. He's just a freak athlete. So I just remember getting to watch him play the outfield just like a running back, just barreling through. He's bigger than everybody and faster than everybody, and just an absolutely amazing athlete and a really good dude. So, it's cool to see, and I'm happy for him. But I think he has a little better chance of winning it than I do. So I'm rooting for him.
How like at that level, at the big league level, how difficult is it, or how much are you able to keep tabs on? Like you were talking about watching Jake. How difficult is it to keep tabs on everybody you used to play with who's kind of scattered all over the big leagues now? And how cool is that too?
It is really cool. I love checking the box scores and seeing how the boys are doing. But it's a little easier for Pave and Jake because they're on the West Coast. So if I got home and I couldn't fall asleep, I'd flip on the game and see how the boys were doing. But it was so cool to see him and Paven. Paven played great while he was up there. I know he had a bunch of homers and just played great. So it's so fun to check in. Those guys are doing awesome.
Have you faced anybody like Spores or Lynch or anybody like that? Have you faced anybody from UVA?
Yeah, I faced Spores. I hit a homer off Lynch. I gotta say it. Took Lynch deep a couple of years ago, so that was probably the highlight of my season back then. And then we went out and had a beer after the game, so that was really cool, and we laughed about it. But it's so fun. It's everybody I played with at UVA has been so cool. Even the guys I didn't play with, like I saw Derek Fisher at the golf tournament. We talked a lot and had some good conversations. And it's just I've played with Chris Taylor in the golf tournament a few years back, and I don't know. It's so cool to see those guys, and they're so cool to me. And it's a cool little fraternity that we have.
Yeah, Chris, obviously recording this on Wednesday, so but maybe by the time this posts, Chris might have another World Series ring with the Dodgers. But obviously, you and Chris, your stories, I think, will always have one big parallel, as both of you have walk-off hits to send UVA to Omaha. I remember when you had that hit against Maryland back in 2015. I think we asked you, had you met Chris yet? I don't know if you had, but you obviously had seen that play or had seen his hit from 2011. What is your guys' relationship since that time?
Well, so my first interaction with Mac was him telling me that I reminded him of Chris Taylor. So then that name stuck with me for forever for my baseball career, and I've always kept up with him. And obviously your first day at UVA, you watch the video and you see the big dog pile and everything. So that's like the signature moment of UVA baseball, at least until we won it and Kirby's there throwing his gloves in the air and everything. But he is an amazing baseball player, and it's just so cool. He's not the most talented guy in the world, but he works his tail off, and he does all the little things right, and I admire that. And so when I played a golf tournament with him a few years ago, and he's just the nicest guy, and everybody who played with him as well as just said so many awesome things about him, and he's just a great dude, man. He really is. He's been a big role model for me without even knowing it.
Since you've been gone, especially most recently, 3 out of the last 4 years, they've gotten back to Omaha. What kind of bragging goes on? Do you do a lot of bragging about that to other people, like in the clubhouse or anything like that? Just the fact that, hey, look, we're back in Omaha, 3rd time in 4 years or whatever.
Oh yeah. They got it going on right now. They got a great team, and Oak has the program going. So it's they got to win another one if they want to sit in the room with Pave and myself. So there's it's tough to win it as a freshman. So or a first year. So we'll see. A lot of those guys got some work to do because it goes by fast, and it is not easy to do is to win it all. So getting to Omaha is a huge accomplishment. And it at times I'm sure it just feels like bonus baseball once you get there. But it is so hard and so special to win it all.
These guys now, particularly these 3 of the last 4, has happened during what is certainly a different era of college athletics than when you played, with the NIL, with the transfer portal, all that stuff. What do you think what would have been in like the prime NIL deal that you would have aspired to back in your day when you were here?
Yeah, I would have gotten $0 in NIL for sure. I was not a big recruit. I was not, they were not begging me to come. I think I slid in and got lucky because somebody by the name of Kevin Biggio decommitted at a good time for me. So I slid right in there, and I had a little bit of destiny and fate helped me out. But yeah, I don't think I would have really gotten much there. But a lot of those other guys that came in with me, they would have been helped out big time. It's a huge change in college athletics, and I mean it's just a totally different ball game now. It really is. It's yeah, I don't know all the details of how all that works, and I can't tell you I'm the biggest fan of all of it. But honestly, it's great. Kids are they need to be taken care of a little bit, and I think it's great.
Are you surprised at all the way Oak has embraced it? Just knowing him and the competitor that he is, because he's like, we had him on last week and he was talking about how he's embraced it, and you look at compared to what happened with Tony Bennett and how he just didn't really have the stomach for it and didn't want to deal with it. Does it surprise you at all that Oak has wrapped his arms around it the way he has?
Well, you have to. I think you have to. I don't think you have
Yeah.
a choice, or your program's going to sink. Like you have to get with the times, and you got to compete. So you can't blame him. And I think he wants to continue. I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but I think he wants to continue to get guys on the team who really want to be there. In the past, it was like players wanted and loved the thought of playing for the University of Virginia, and I think that still really means something. And I hope that the kids now can really take pride in putting on that jersey and playing for something bigger than themselves. But it's so nice to get compensated for all the hard work that these kids have put into it, and I hope that doesn't become the main thing that people want, because playing for this program is the most special thing in the world, and I think there's a lot of people out there that would give up all that money just to be a part of it.
We talked earlier about you got to spend some time with the current team when you guys were back here. And speaking speaking as someone like yourself who has changed a bunch of positions, and speaking of guys who potentially could be up in the big leagues pretty soon, at least have the opportunity to do so. Henry Ford is a guy who came in here. Maybe he was one of those guys who just loved UVA, right? He grew up in Charlottesville. Very highly touted kid who came here and was a stud as a freshman. Now he's coming into his sophomore year. And now he's moving from first base to the outfield. And the little bit that you got to see from him, or maybe some other guys, what are your just impressions of that team? Maybe the talent on it, maybe led by Henry.
Yeah, he's a stud. He's a stud. There's so much talent on that field. Like, just kind of hanging out for BP. And I know we did the home run derby and everything, but I was just kind of watching, and there are some absolute monsters out there. I would look like a little kid out there in the outfield running around, but there's a lot of talent. There's a lot of talent, and I know the coaches and everybody over there is gonna get the most out of them. So I think it's going to be really exciting watching these guys go to work and go to battle with each other. It's a good group.
Let me unmute. I forgot to unmute. Before we let you go, I think we have to ask you, I know something else near and dear to your heart, those Buffalo Bills. How you feeling?
Absolutely. I like where we're at. We got a weak division, so it's hard to it's hard to really gauge. We've had a couple good wins, but not great wins. I don't know. I think they're learning how to win, which is important. You got to win those close games when you don't have your best stuff, but you We got our butts kicked by the Ravens. We got the Chiefs coming up soon. I'm going to this Dolphins game this weekend, Sunday. A little worried Tua's coming back, so I don't know. We'll see. I like where we're at. I don't love where we're at.
How do you compare Josh Allen as a quarterback to you in that intramural football game as a freshman? How would you compare the two?
I would have blown him out of the water. The water.
Yeah.
I was scrambling. No one could even.
I was going to say dual threat.
Absolutely. I probably had 75 yards rushing and probably 200 yards passing, and I think it was probably 28 fantasy points. So.
Yeah. You made somebody's Yeah,
you helped somebody win a fantasy championship that day.
Yeah, exactly.
One of those sickos.
Are you able to? Do you ever get on the ice at all up in Toronto? Yeah. When's the last time you put the hockey stick on?
I don't play in Toronto. I got one more funny story before I leave. I'm gonna kind of throw my dad under the bus here. And then I'll tell you about my hockey. But we show up to the official visit, and like I'm all nervous, and like my dad just has no idea like about any social cues whatsoever, and he goes, yeah, O'Connor, what are the odds that Ernie can play intramural hockey while he's here? And Oak's like, dude, absolutely not. So that was just like a kind of a foreshadowing of where I was going to be playing, with my football, whatever. But now I can play beer league hockey every once in a while because it's the best workout ever, and I have a good group of guys who I play with, and it's extremely safe. There's no check or anything like that. So I get my conditioning in on the ice on Thursdays usually.
Who would you compare your ice hockey game? Who would you compare it to? Like NHL player? Who would you say compared to?
Oh, it's tough. I have a terrible shot. I can move pretty well. So I play with old men who are afraid to put any type of body or stick near my person. So I have an easy time getting around people. So I don't think it would be. I think it would be unfair to compare me to anyone who's actually good at hockey. Right.
Did you, while you were here, did you get a chance ever to go check out the club hockey team on the Main Street Arena?
No, I've seen the rink though. It's pretty sweet, but I never got over there for a game. I wish I had. Really wish I had.
It was an electric atmosphere the few times I went.
There was a video of the goalie like shotgunning a beer during.
There was. Yeah. That was a pretty good snapshot of what that atmosphere was like. Unfortunately, that arena is no longer. So we don't have that. We don't have that. We don't have that buzz of the downtown mall like we used to. Well, I think the only other thing I want to mention too, because Oak brought up the last time that it sounds like there is a 10-year reunion coming up. I think in I want to say January, right? Probably right before you head off to spring training. Of that 2015 team, lasting memory from that season. Like what lesson, what thing always sticks with you from that year that maybe you still kind of tap into a bit in these days?
I think of all the adversity that you go through during a season, and all the hard stuff, the struggle. There's two ways you can deal with it. You can just fold up and give up and feel sorry for yourself, or you can rise above it and use it to make you better. And I think that's exactly what we did in that season. And anytime stuff's not going your way, I especially in my career, and I've had plenty of struggles and times where I have not done my job to the best of my ability. I've learned from it and used it to make myself better. So I think that is a great life lesson and definitely a good baseball lesson.
There you go. That seems like a pretty good spot to wrap up on. Ernie, I know you're a busy guy. Thanks for taking the time. We got time, right? We got time.
Story for another day.
Yeah, we're going to end it right there. For Andrew, for Ernie, I'm David. Thanks for joining us on 1186 The Podcast. We'll catch up with you again.
Keep it with me.